Okay guys, you may remember a few days back there was a video tutorial called Before There Was a Government. So I want to review that first, and then we're going to sort of add a little bit to it. And I'll add a little bit to it this time and a little bit more the next time. But the big picture is here. We need to find out. The state of Ohio wants to make sure you know about the Declaration of Independence and the thinking behind it. Okay? So remember we said before there was government that people lived in a state of nature. There is no government. And remember, at first people were hunters and gatherers, and there's old Lucy, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And, people didn't stay in one place, so they didn't have a lot of possessions, and they were constantly on the move. They were nomadic. And leads us to this guy, John Locke, who was probably the biggest influence on America, even though a lot of Americans don't know this guy. He was born in 1632 till 1704 was his death. He created what's called the natural rights philosophy. The natural rights philosophy. Keep that in mind. All right, where's the thing at? There we go. Why do we care about this guy? Because Jefferson, and not only Jefferson, all these founding fathers really were highly influenced by this guy and other Enlightenment thinkers. But Jefferson steals pretty close to some of his language to put in the Declaration of Independence. So remember, Jefferson's the primary author of the Declaration of Independence. And he, if you see my little drawing here, if you remember, not my drawing, my little image, we see I forget his name in The Simpsons, but he's John Locke, and Bart is Thomas Jefferson. He's leaning over copying off him because that's what Jefferson did. Okay? So let's go back to what the heck is this state of nature? Well, a state of nature is before there's civilization. There is no government. There's no buildings. There's no cities. People live in nature, and not just, woods and forests and jungles, but deserts and everything in between. And John Locke argues that in a state of nature, we're all free. It's a state of perfect freedom. And also, just as important, it's a state of equality, since no one is forced to submit to any authority. I got this little image, this guy saying, "You aren't my boss." Because that's sort of the idea here. In a state of nature, there is no authority. Everybody's free. Everybody's equal. Okay? So Locke comes up with what he calls this, we all have a natural right to life, liberty, and property. And by the way, we'll get to it down the road, but Jefferson's going to say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He gets rid of the property, and we'll discuss why later. But we have a natural right in a state of nature to life, liberty, and property. Okay? Not that difficult. So what the heck does Locke mean by life? Well, people interpret Locke in a zillion different ways, and so mine's just one interpretation. But basically, it's a belief that a human being has the right to live. Especially a human being has the right not to be unjustly killed by another human being. You have a right to your life in a state of nature. Okay? Next. What does Locke mean by liberty? Liberty means an exemption from all rules save the law of nature. That we have absolute freedom except what the law of nature exempts us from having. Okay, so some people sort of look at that as like freedom. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but for right now, that's okay. So we got life, liberty, and property. What the heck does he mean by property? Property comes when an individual changes the primitive community of ownership, because everybody owns everything in a state of nature unless an individual possession is made by mingling your labor with some object. And if you look at my image here, you see these hunters and gatherers have tools. They've went and cut down some wood. They've killed this mammoth right here. Before they actually did that, everybody sort of owned all of this. But they changed that nature and made it their property by doing so. So now, this spear right here, that's his property. This wood over here that they cut down and gathered, that's their property. That mammoth that they just killed right there, that is now their property. And according to Locke, we have a right to property. So life, liberty, and property. Which really raises the question, why the heck would we ever give this up, man? If it's all equality and no one's in charge and everything's good, well, it's not always good. So, an absence of total government, in the strictest term of the word, is anarchy. There is no government, and it's a free-for-all. So why the heck would we leave this state of nature and this perfect freedom and equality? Because sometimes in a state of nature, people are going to bonk you on the head. It's going to bonk you on the head. If you have the right to those tools because you made them, some people might come and steal those from you. So people end up saying, hey, I'm willing to give up some of my freedoms, some of my freedoms to the government, but they have to protect those natural rights of life, liberty, and property. That's what the government is supposed to do, protect people's natural rights. And remember, we got life. Remember, you got a right to your life. If I'm giving up this freedom, the government, you got to make sure you take care of me on that. Protect my natural right to life. You got to protect my natural right to liberty. I'll give up some power to you, but don't screw with my liberty and property. Government, I'm going to give you some power so you protect my property from some other idiot coming and taking it from me. Because I can't spend 24 hours a day guarding my apple tree. If someone wants to come steal it, that's no way to live life. So I'm willing to give up some of my power so the government will protect my apple tree or my tools or my kill of my mammoth. Okay? And guys, this is sort of just an introduction to this. We'll break this down further and make this more understandable as we go along and see how this jibes in with the Declaration of Independence, which the state of Ohio wants you to know about these natural rights. Okay? I'm out.